Noise-induced hearing loss is the fleet's #1 occupational health hazard. Ships are loud. Weapons are loud. CO shall ensure the HCP is established and maintained within the command. So who is in charge of making sure that there's an established hearing conservation program? The CO. He just has to make sure that the program exists at the command. IH officer, or the industrial hygiene officer, shall annually certify audiometric testing booths installed aboard ships. So not all platforms have audio booths, right? Big decks have audio booths.
That number is supposed to be 85. Just to let y'all know. I don't know why it wasn't updated.
80 decibels. Mm-hmm. Personnel who have significant threshold shifts, which that's on your test, what a threshold shift is, are excluded from hazardous noise areas, defined as areas exceeding 85 decibels for continuous, or 140 decibels, which is a peak, right? Like usually a noise burst or something like that, for at least 14 hours before the scheduled test. So if somebody comes into the audio booth, they have a result of a significant threshold shift, and they have to come back and be reevaluated. They must stay out of noise hazardous areas that are 85 decibels on a continuous, like noise level, right? Or 140 peak decibel at any given time within a 14-hour period. They have to stay out of those areas completely prior to going to be retested. Yes.
STS is defined as 5 megahertz or better.
STS is 5 megahertz or better on either end for a shift. MDR must ensure training. So the medical department representative, MDR, must ensure training is conducted during INDOC on proper noise reduction methods. Training will be conducted annually as well for health HCP enrolled personnel, so hearing conservation program enrolled people. Every shipboard sailor is in the HCP. A lot of marine units are also auto-enrolled into HCP.
All
of them?
All of them.
Yes.
Okay. And that's because of weapons, right?
Not just, but yeah.
Your PrevMed tech usually is the one that's tracking this for
Your
medical
PrevMed tech
department
is your-
representative. He's going to be the one making sure everybody, he or she, is making sure everybody has that training annually and at NDOC.
Yep, so those are your 2 test questions right there, or 2 of the test questions I've seen before is when is the training conducted, and it's upon check-in and annually thereafter. And the other question is who is responsible for ensuring the training is conducted, and that's your medical department representative.
And easy way to remember annually, because it's actually what some of the ships do to make it easier to meet that requirement, is what other exam do you have annually? PHA. So you can literally, at the same time as your PHA, do that quick 5-10 minute hearing conservation training and document it at the same exact time as their PHA.
Usually the PrevMed techs have a form that's already like done, and it's like a quick training that goes in with all the people that come in for their PHAs. You just hand them that packet of paper on the ship, or with the marine units. I'm sure they do the same thing. So your medical department representative will report all significant threshold shifts to the safety officer, as well as enter them into the web-enabled safety system, which is called WES. STS is defined as hearing changes from the baseline that average 10 decibels or more at 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 hertz in one or both areas. So I apologize, not 5 decibels, it's 10.
Yeah, I was wrong too, so cool.
I thought there was something with 5 decibel shift though.
No, 5 is just considered like margin of error.
Margin of error, okay. Shifts in a person's total hearing level reaching 25 decibels or greater above audiometric 0 in the same ears and frequencies must be reported to OSHA. So if somebody has they went from hearing to 25 decibels is big, right? So to not hearing jack, that's an OSHA reportable event, okay? Because something major happened. They were standing next to Seaways with no hearing protection, something like that. Because seriously, that person's hearing is done skis. So your website is WES. So you may see it on your test as, you know, the significant threshold shift was reported in Wes. What shift? How many decibels was this person's shift, or whatever? What's the minimum, right? And it's 10. But it's 10 or more at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hertz. So I've seen that question too with the hertz. So I would know this slide. Labeling of hazardous areas and equipment. So there's a lot of labeling requirements and a lot of ships fuck it up. So you're going to look at NavMed 6260/2, hazardous noise warning decal, and the NavMed 6260/2 alpha, which is your hazardous noise labels. They have other equivalent type labels, but these are the Navy ones that we can order in demos. And these have very specific places that they have to be put. So like on the outside of the door.
It's actually on the chief exam.
It is on the chief's exam. On the outside of the door to the space that is a noise hazardous area, not on the inside of the door.
On the wall.
On the bulkhead outside of the room, what is happening?
That was literally our test question this cycle, is where do you place it? And they had inside the hazardous area, outside on the bulkhead, outside on something else.
Something else, yeah.
So it's going to be
On a hatch or something?
outside of the noise area.
On the wall.
So use common sense, right? When I walk inside of that space and then have the sonics in there, no.
You want your hearing pro on first, right?
Other thing too, if I'm going to write a test, okay, and fuck with you, I'm putting both of those forms on there. So just like the EZ603 and the EZ603 alpha, you need to know the difference, right?
One's
So
a
they both-
decal, one's a label.
Exactly. They both say hazardous noise, so just know label and decal.
So your label, 6260/2, your decal is 6260/2, and your label is 6260/2 alpha. All right, noise abatement. I want that to stop.
What is all that?
His emails.
Jesus Christ.
And I want, give me 1 second now.
This is Teams.
Oh, is that Teams? No.
Why is this Teams all popping up right now?
I don't know, it looks like it needs to.
Come on, man.
I just closed your Teams.
That's okay. It's,
Because you don't need it, right?
yeah, you didn't.
Oh, that's not my
You have the
Teams.
Teams,
That's his.
not
That's his stuff.
Teams. Oh, just kidding.
That's GMT stuff.
Isn't this all? I'm like I closed the Teams thing, but I'm
Quit the Teams. Email or we still do this?
this right here from the beginning. I mean, not from the beginning, from the current slide. Thank you. All right. So noise abatement, reduction of noise at the source is the best interest of the Navy and its personnel. So it will be usually accomplished during ship or equipment design, construction, or testing, or when they do like overhaul periods and stuff like that. Personnel hearing protective devices. So working or entering a designated noise area, you shall have your PPE, right, at all times, and wear them without consideration of the duration of the exposure. So if there's a decal or a label, before you walk into that space, you must have hearing pro donned, and you must leave it on for the entire time you're in there. Even if you're only stepping in to say, hey, I'm going to lunch, and then walking back out, you still have to have your hearing pro on. Double protection shall be worn when sound levels exceed 104 decibels. Know that one.
Let me make this make sense to y'all, because if you were like me and got confused on why it's not 140, because that's the higher amount, it's 104 continuous for 8 hours, right? So if they're exposed to noise continuously at least the 104 level, that is when they have to have double hearing protection. The other range was 85 to 140, 104 continuous for double.
So 141st, and that's your 14 hours outside that noise level, even if it's just a burst of noise, right? This says 104 continuous noise, you must have double ear protection. Or if it's even if it's in a space where it's going to burst at 104, if you're in that space continuously with single hearing pro, if you're going to get a 104 or higher, you're putting on double ear hearing protection for that amount of time, and then you can go back down to 1.
And I should be the one that makes that determination.
Who? IH? Yeah. Yep. For situations requiring unique hearing protection, consult Chief UBED. Did everybody hear her question? Industrial hygiene is who makes the decision of the determination of single or double hearing protection requirements. So when the IH comes out and does their survey, they come out annually, they do their IH survey and they determine which areas are noise hazardous, and they determine what type of noise hazard is it and what decibels. They actually measure the decibels and tell you if it's a single or double. So on the placard that you put on the wall, you mark single or double. There's boxes on there that you check. So on the decal.
As HM1 Martinez said earlier, those guys are the experts, so that's the reason why they are the ones that set up those areas. And to me, also, that last line, because it's kind of like off the wall to me on who the person responsible is, I would know that, because to me, Chief of BMed, I've never really seen a lot of that with this manual. So just, since it's unique, I'd put a star next to it knowing the unique hearing protection has to be coordinated through Chief of BMed.
So hearing testing and medical evaluation reference. Baseline hearing tests will be conducted on all personnel upon entry into naval service, so you get your baseline in boot camp. Recorded on the DD form 2215 or MEPS. Boot camp or MEPS. Sometimes if you don't get it at MEPS, you get it at boot camp. So, oh, I apologize. You get your audiogram at MEPS, but it's not used as a baseline. That's just to say whether you qualify for service or not. You go to boot camp, you get your audiogram, and that one is your baseline. Personnel enrolled in the hearing conservation program will have annual audiograms, and they are documented on the DD form 2216 and uploaded into DOORS repository. So it says DOORS HC. So DOORS, you need to remember that because that's on the test. What is DOORS? What's the system that your audiogram is uploaded into? It's DOORS. That's where all of your audiograms are documented. Now, where do your audiograms go if you have a significant threshold shift? What system does it get put into? WES. Who is it reported to if you have a 25 decibel shift? OSHA. Good. So there's a lot of different things, right? WES is if you have a significant threshold shift, it gets uploaded into there. All of your audiograms get uploaded into DOORS and documented on the 2216. That's in your medical record. That's a little outdated because now we have Genesis and we don't have paper records, but.
Not questioning intelligence, but I know I've seen people get mixed up on them when they use the nomenclature for these forms to know what they are. They have reference audiogram and hearing conservation data. Reference always means, as it says in quotations, baseline. So it's always going to be the first form on 2215. Data is something you collect over time, right? So it's always going to be hearing conservation data is always related to your 2216.
Is that clear as mud? Everybody understands that reference and baseline are exactly the same thing?
Clear as crystal.
Okay. Other hearing tests performed for reasons other than hearing conservation or routine physical should be documented on an SF600. So, if you're just going in because you're like, I'm not on the hearing conservation program because I work at Souls Point Medical, but I've been in the Navy for 104 years and I'm old as dirt and I think I've had some hearing loss, so I need to go get an audiogram for I don't know, my retirement. SF600, that's where it's going. Cool? I mean, I'm making fun of myself. I work at Souls Point Medical. I'm older than dirt and I've been in forever. All right, training conducted during INDOC and during annual refresher training. We already covered that, so it's on here twice. It's in the instruction twice. MDR will maintain a current roster of personnel who routinely work in designated noise hazardous areas. That document gets updated semi-annually, so twice a year. The MDR is updating all your EMs, all your ENs, all the people that work in noise hazardous areas, HTs, all right. MDR shall also maintain a tickler file for scheduling annual audiometric exams. We used, what's the system on the ship?
TMIP?
Is it TMIP? Yeah, TMIP. So we go into TMIP and we create data files in there, and it sends us the notification. It turns them all red or whatever and says, hey, these workers are due for audiograms.
So this confirms that conversation I was having earlier, right? Where I forgot who said it. I think it was the instructor saying that when you pop for IMR, the hearing conservation isn't part of that. to where it's not showing that they need it. Like for me, I'm in hearing conservation, and yet my last audiogram is in 2022, but I'm not popping that I needed it. So this tickler file has to be created, so you're accurately documenting who needs those audiograms and why it's updated monthly. So something has to be created individually on the side, so you're actually tracking it, because IMR does not actually tell you, or MERS doesn't actually tell you that.
Yeah. So in the file, like on the small boys or medium deck ships that don't have audio booths, they go to like Sewell's Point Medical or Boone Clinic or something like that to get their audiograms done, and they get the printout from the audio booth and they take it to the ship, and then the ship's MDR. And on small boys, everybody does it, even if you have a PMT on board, because the PMT can't do it all by themselves, right? So we take their form, and instead of just throwing it in their medical record, we have to go in and update the tickler. So a lot of times we'll just take them and throw them all in a folder, and once a month or every couple of weeks, we'll jump in, take that folder, and start updating everybody. Say, hey, this person got their audiogram, this, and then it takes them off the hit list. All right, Chapter B5, Site Conservation. Navy policy requires that personnel working in eye hazardous areas or operations are providing adequate eye protection at government expense. Devices, I think that's like an E4 test question. When E4s used to take, or E3s used to take tests for E4s. To make E4. Can't speak words, hard. Yikes. Huh?
It wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago, but
Like it was.
now it's like, why? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Devices for eye protection, such as safety glasses, shippers' goggles, welders' goggles, chemical goggles, and face shields, shall be selected using the guidance provided. CO shall ensure that an effective site conservation program is established within his or her command. Same thing with the hearing conservation program, right? CO just has to make sure the program exists. CO also places emphasis on leadership by example regarding wearing of site protection equipment. Hearing protection too. The safety officer shall evaluate areas, processes, and equipment for site hazards if not previously evaluated or modifications have been made. So anytime there is a overhaul period, safety officer has to come in and reevaluate whatever spaces have been overhauled. Maintain a current listing of all areas and processes that require eye protection and those areas that require eye wash or deluge shower facilities. Evaluate the program at least annually. Safety officer evaluates the eye hazardous program annually.
That's when I put a star next to, because it doesn't sound like it should be them. It should be like medical.
Or OSHA.
So if something that sounds odd to me, like I said, I'm always going to put a star next to it. So
Yeah, 'cause
the
this is
safety officer, anybody, is responsible for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not IH, it's not medical rep, right? Safety officer evaluates it annually, and they are the ones that determine, like, if there needs to be a placard in that space and if it needs to have an eye wash or a deluge shower. The division officer shall ensure that areas identified as eye hazardous areas are properly marked and labeled. So your DIVO, not your MDR. Make sure that these placards are up and where they're supposed to be. They also ensure personnel use proper eye protection devices when required. So that's obviously a division officer role anyway, right? The medical department representative shall provide personnel who require corrective lenses and work in eye hazardous areas with prescription eyewear. Safety eyewear must have permanent side shields on the sides where the bands are that meet the ANSI test requirements for that specific frame. So the MDR has to make sure that if you wear corrective lenses, that you can get your corrective lenses in safety goggle form. Okay, does that make sense? Because not everybody has an optometry tech on board, right? So your medical department representative could be the Quad Zero HM1 for that. So determination, the baseline industrial hygiene survey, so your baseline IH survey, will make an initial determination of eye hazardous areas and processes and eye wash and deluge shower requirements and list them in the survey report, just like they do for hearing conservation. They just do their hearing conservation inspection annually. Designation, the ship or construction repair yard shall mark permanently installed equipment and processes that are eye hazardous areas with 3-inch deck stripping and a caution sign. It is literally a this is a test question, by the way, the 3-inch deck stripping. It looks like caution tape, and it's adhesive, and they put it on the floor all the way around the eye hazard area.
What color is it?
It's yellow and black striped. It looks like caution tape. And there has to be a caution sign on the bulkhead, or on, if there's like a pillar right next to that space, they'll put it on the pillar. But the floor has to be marked around the entire area. Issue, the ship shall provide and issue appropriate eye protection at government expense. So your LSs are keeping stocks of eye protection. Prescription protective eyewear as determined by the safety officer and MDR. Prescription safety glasses may be necessary for some individuals. Prescription protective eyewear shall be obtained through the medical department. The eyewear prescription form is the DD771. I would know the DD771.
That hasn't showed up in the exam for a while.
It hasn't been on there for a while, right? I mean, it was probably on your 3rd class exam.
It's the only question that I get from my AC, and they stop.
And they stopped asking it, yeah. Yeah, because there's usually one optometry question, and that's usually what it is. What's the prescription for eyewear? DD771. Maintenance of protective eyewear. Personnel shall maintain PPE or PP eyewear in a clean and fully operational condition. Eye protection equipment should then be immersed for 10 minutes in a disinfectant, rinsed, and air dried. Never seen it on the test, but it sounds like a good test question. Immersed for 10 minutes in a disinfectant, rinsed, and air dried. Personnel shall immediately report lost or damaged protective eyewear to their work center supervisor. Emergency eye washes or eye face baths are primary first aid precautions or exposures to corrosive materials. That's important to know. There are some materials you do not add water to, okay? But for corrosives, eye wash station. Emergency deluge showers are primary first aid for significant splashes or of corrosives to the skin or body in addition to the eyes. The ship shall have an adequate number of properly maintained and inspected eye wash facilities. It doesn't say a specific number. It doesn't say anything specific on that last line. I don't know what a test question could be from it. Eye wash station must be capable of flushing the eyes with potable water at a minimum flow rate of 0.4 gallons per minute. That is a test question.
Yes.
For 15 consecutive minutes. So this is a test question that I've seen with 2 blank lines. And it gave you the two answers, right, as on each option. So it's 0.4 gallons per minute for 15 continuous minutes.
And they like to say 15 and then 15 continuous is literally the 2 different answer choices.
Or 15 continuous minutes. And it's continuous. So shall have a one motion, this has been on the test too, but it's been a really long time, one motion paddle or pull strap, stay open valve, so that all you have to do is press the valve and it stays on. You don't have to constantly hold a handle or press a button for the whole time, because if you have something in your eyes, you're probably freaking out. So you just press it and the eye wash station comes on and it stays on until it's manually shut off. Shall be on the same level, unobstructed, and easily accessible within 100 feet or 10-second travel. That's the other test question I see a lot. That was on my Chiefs test last year.
I've seen the same level one too. I know I didn't highlight it in bold
Yes.
because it threw me off one time. Know the actual same level unobstructed, because I forgot what they use for the other terms, but they'll say at eye level or above or whatever else, but it has to be same level.
Only 2 steps up or whatever, it has to be on the same level. So it's, if any of you have been in engineering spaces, there's a lot of like small ladder wells or small stairs that go like this from one level to the next, or like there's 3 little steps up. It can't be those, there can't be steps in between. It has to be on that same decking level. 100 feet or 10 seconds of travel. That's the best test question.
Or for strong caustic eye wash, it has to be immediately adjacent.
Yep. So if you're working with strong or caustic materials and you're working on a bench top here, the eye wash station has to be right here. It can't be 10 seconds wet. It has to be right next to the caustic material. The unit shall be positioned with the eye wash nozzles not less than 33 inches or more than 45 inches above the deck. So it's, so you're not bending over like this and you're not like trying to reach your eyes over something ridiculous, right? 33 to 45 inches above the deck. 6 inches minimum from the nearest wall or obstruction, so you're not bashing your head into the wall.
These two slides are been on like pretty much every bullet point I've seen on the test.
Yep.
So please put a star next to this one too.
The eye wash shall deliver tepid flushing water 60 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
They will always show the
Temperature's
range.
on there.
They will always show the range for this test question.
Yep, 60 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That was on my chief's exam last year, not this January, but last January. And it was on a lot of my first class tests. Potable water valves to eye wash stations and deluge showers shall be locked open with a metal tamper-proof lanyard and marked as a W or circle W fitting. That's like a chief test question right there. But a W or circle W fitting, that's test question worthy for sure. So potable water valves cannot be shut off for those purposes unless you have notified the space that uses this, right, and all work has ceased in that space. Then you can take that potable water line off and do whatever valve maintenance you need to do and all that shit. And then you have to put that tamper seal back on with a W or circle W fitting.
So, not being a shipboard sailor, what is a W or circle W fitting?
Material condition, what can be shut down during what situation?
So it's a placard basically. It's a little placard that goes above that valve. So there's a tamper-proof thing, so you can't shut the valve, right? Like it's locked in the open position. It always stays open, and you put a lock on it. Above that valve on the bulkhead, there's a W or a W with a circle around it. Because it's potable water and you want that valve to stay open. Because it goes to the eye wash.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it's just a placard above it that has a W or a circle W. So you know that the material condition of that is it must stay open, don't fuck with the tamper.
So anything marked W or circle W must stay open.
For potable water, yeah.
And is potable water. Okay.
And don't actually just verbalize testing it, because people on the ship's been doing that. Actually test and run it and let the water come out, because it'll be a big hit for you.
A big hit. We're really good in our lab at Sewell's. I'm an asshole and I check it every week. Or if it's Friday afternoon and I haven't seen it being tested yet, I'm like, I wonder if I spill some shit in my eyes, if I'm going to be able to wash them up with clean water or not. And then my guys are like, hey, somebody go do that. All emergency eye wash and shower equipment must be maintained through the planned maintenance system, or PMS. That's a very shipboard thing. Clearly mark eye wash stations with a green sign with white lettering. This is a test question. Green sign, white lettering, eye wash station. Emergency eye wash station. Green sign, white lettering.
They love colors for ship questions.
They do. W, circle W, and emergency eye wash station with green and white. Green sign, white lettering.
Thankfully, you guys don't have P5010 Chapter 6 on your test, do you?
No. Oh my God.
Or did you?
P5010 Chapter 6, is that on your bib?
No? Okay, good. That's the one that has all the colors also.
All the colors, every color. CHT gold. For propulsion plant spaces of nuclear-powered submarines, eye wash bottles may be used in lieu of permanent or portable eye wash stations and shall be readily available in nucleonics, water chemistry rooms, and secondary analysis stations. I've never
That's a lot in the
seen
weeds.
it on
Never
my
going to be on the test.
Okay. DIVO or work center soup shall perform training for personnel assigned to work centers with eye hazard areas at the time that protective eyewear is issued. So issue your protective eyewear and do your training for it. No attempt should be made to remove a particle lodged in the eyeball or wash an eye that has been cut in any way. Contact the medical department immediately. Test question on that would be removing an object from the eye. I've seen that in a scenario-based question. I've never seen the cut.
I wanted to redact my statement because there's one question I've seen on the emergency eye wash delude. and it's literally that oddball thing about nuclear-powered submarines. Just know for if you see the T words nuclear-powered submarines
It's a bottle.
in this, is going to be talking about emergency eyewash and deluge, whatever the fuck that word is, deluge shower facilities.
Okay. Where is the adult health? The other chapter for this one is